Hey, welcome back to the Ping Pong Flix Show. My name is Chris Wong. This is episode 529 of the Ping Pong Flix Show. Let's get into a few DC updates before my main topic of the day. So, Wonder Woman director Patty Jenkins says Marvel had such success doing a shared universe, but that shouldn't be the status quo. Very interesting comments. It really does kind of show possibly what DC is thinking about. What how are they trying to share their universe instead of being like Marvel? They're doing it in a different way. So they said this. I love that about it. Jenkins tells our sister publication, Total Film Magazine. To me, that's what superheroes movies. Period always were. I think the exception to that was that Marvel had such success doing a shared universe, but that certainly shouldn't be the status quo. I think you should look at comic books. There's this huge variety of comic books, and their look and tone and world are radically different, and they don't always inevitably join together. Sometimes they do, and that's really fun, but that's that thing. But a lot of times they have their own run. I'm psyched that DC and frankly Marvel's actually doing a little bit more now too with some of the tone of Thor Ragnarok, Black Widow, Doctor Strange. They feel very different in tone. But I love that about DC, and I've always thought that that's a wonderful thing about DC. They were all so different. So it's interesting you said that because essentially Thor Ragnarok, Black Widow, and Doctor Strange are still within the same universe. They do kind of connect in terms of the story if you kind of look at it, but maybe she thinks of that, well, it's still like separate, right? I mean, it's still essentially its own story and essentially its own tone. And I like that she pulled out Thor Ragnarok because Thor Ragnarok is definitely a different tone than like Doctor Strange. And I don't know about Black Widow. We haven't seen that yet. But I think that is part of the reason she's trying to explain why some things are different, why the story is kind of, doesn't exactly connect. Like you don't see a continuation, like something doesn't happen here or it goes to there. There is no overarching villain. Kind of like how what they're trying to do, what they did with the MCU, and so, but I kind of agree with that because that gives the director a much more freedom to do what they want with the property without having to worry about what came before and what comes after. They just got to know while these cast of characters are still alive or these cast of characters are around. And even then in itself is kind of still a connectivity in some form of matter. But I guess in a way she's right about that. It's a different run. It's a different comic. That's what comic book people are used to, and to see that going into the movie world could mean that a lot of fresh ideas could be able to have that story told without being kind of just chained down to a certain way or a certain story, maybe even a certain characters, right? So maybe we could have multiple Batmans, maybe we could have multiple Supermans, multiple Jokers. So that I mean, we don't really see that right now, so we'll have to wait and see how far this status quo, this new way of DC is going to go. And I feel like it's much like the days of Batman and Superman, the Tim Burton or, the Christopher Nolan, Brandon Ralph. It's just pockets of movies. But I think in this world, it's a little bit more connected in that matter, but not so, really chained down to that concept. So, but that's Wonder Woman director Patty Jenkins' words on that. So we'll have to wait and see if that becomes really true. Next, I just want to show you this thing. Dwayne Johnson retweeted this thing from BossLogic. BossLogic said, wanted to post something special for The Rock, so I asked Warner Brothers if I could post some of the build-up to the Black Adam poster. They let me go beyond that, so here's showing you some of the legendary Jim Lee blueprint. Happy birthday, bro. Continue to always inspire us daily because it's Dwayne Johnson's birthday. He said, you'll always be part of our Black Adam crew. Thanks for the love, BossLogic. So this is the Jim Lee, shows a little bit of the concept and how he helped colored it in. And interesting, he said poster, so maybe this is we're actually looking at a concept for the Black Adam poster. And I think this even more emphasized what I said on the other video before, that Dwayne Johnson really reached out to both Jim Lee and BossLogic to create some templates, right? To say essentially concept boards. It's kind of like you're drawing a concept and you presenting and says, this is my concept for this movie, or this is my concept for that movie. This is my concept, the movie will revolve around this concept. And maybe that's what BossLogic was in with for, and that's why that Superman versus Black Adam is really cool, because both Jim Lee and him worked on it, and also Dwayne Johnson was involved in that. So you got to know that concept probably reached the studio and says, hey, Dwayne would say, hey, this is a concept I want to do. First is Black Adam, but I want to be able to fight Superman later, and I want this. This is our concept for a Black Adam Superman movie. So. And with Dwayne Johnson, if you and I hope so. I really hope, because Black Adam versus the Justice Society of America is going to be so freaking awesome. I think it sounds awesome already. That I hope it's successful, and that will give more ammo to Dwayne Johnson to tell the studio, hey, I want Henry Cavill back as Superman, unless he's already back, unless he's already there. No one said he's really gone, but have him in the next film with Black Adam versus Superman, and I think that would be pretty damn sick. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to see Black Adam, throw down with Superman, right? So that gets into a Justice League topic, but not the Justice League topic that you're thinking like this. But Justice League Dark Apocalypse War is now available today for Blu-ray, on digital, and for Blu-ray on May 19th. So there's these different platforms you can watch it. I, of course, will get it, and I will watch it, and I will have a review for you hopefully later this week. And we'll get to look at that. So, I have a lot more time now, so I probably will watch this tomorrow, and then I'll put a little review out for you for the next show. Okay, now, this is something else. I want to talk about Zack Snyder's Justice League. I want to talk about it a little bit, and this is more about kind of, you can call it a tinfoil. Maybe you can call it a tinfoil. This is how I see it went down. Because right now we're going through interesting phases on Twitter, interesting phases between the fandom community. It's only on Twitter, really. I think so. But it's only on Twitter, what I feel. And, we have the RT Snyder Cut account. We have all these other accounts. We have these groups that came out of this whole fandom, right? It really started back in the day. It was really just like Fiona, Vinaldo was there. And, there's a whole bunch of other people as well. But, it's small. It was small, and it started growing and growing. I was there, so I knew how it started. We went through all that together. We went through the Wall Street Journal shading together. They threw shade at us. We went through the first San Diego Comic-Con where nothing was announced. That bummed us out. I was there with you, and I hope you continue to be there together until the very end when we finally get to see Zack Snyder's Justice League. But I wanted to just kind of give you maybe a little heads up. If I've already said, I don't know, of kind of like how things really just, in my eyes, I don't know anybody's story, but through where I'm at sitting in this corner right here in Hawaii, in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, this is how I'm viewing it right here. And for me, this had changed me. Okay, this had changed because prior to Zack Snyder, the SnyderCon event, right? It was just, retweeting. We were kind of like, we didn't know what to do. We followed Fiona because Fiona, it appeared to us, and it appeared to me, that maybe I'll just talk about it appeared to me. I won't say us because I don't know what you think. But it appeared to me, and it was communicated to me that Fiona was a direct connection to Zack Snyder, and that there are things that we should, this would be a great idea. Well, I think those are her ideas, but whether or not, I don't know. It's just that it was a good idea, and I would say pretty much, I'd say yes to everything. Like, okay, great, let's do it. Let's do these little campaigns. Let's do that, there's a lot of that, right? And then you start to see more like the Comic Con campaigns and stuff like that. There's people that were kind of um, can hear and maybe interacted, but they weren't. We didn't form together. We didn't know each other very well. Like for instance, Nerd Queens was already doing "I Love ZS" shirts over at Comic Con, during that time. So there was, it wasn't right like tight knit. We were just kind of communicating back and forth. So there's a lot of different people. But for me, I was just kind of like I'm just obsessed with this thing. And my wife can tell you, I'm obsessed with this movie. I dream about it. I have, nightmares and things like that, but mostly dreaming that I actually seen it or, actually get to see it. Like I'm walking to the theater and Zack Snyder's on stage. But beyond that, I'm just really obsessed with this movie, and that's why I talk about it all the time because I'm obsessed. I mean, I can, as a DC fan, hearing the words Justice League, you think of all the different possibilities with that. You think of all the different stories, a live action movie, right? And it all changed when and that possibility came about, when Batman v Superman came out. We finally get to see Batman and Superman and everything, right? We get to see all that. And you get to see oh my God, this is like the next movie's Justice League, right? And I don't have to tell you everything after Justice League, I tried to really like it and then realized that a lot of that, I don't have to tell you all that already. Let's get back to the point. March 24th. So this event came up. It was announced Zack Snyder's birthday, right? He announced it. I said, babe, I'm buying tickets. I'm sorry. I'm buying tickets. We're going. And you know what? I can't really afford all 3 days, but let's just do the third day. So because that's the Batman v Superman day, and I really that's my favorite movie of all time. So let's do that. And she said, okay. So we went there. I got to meet so many people. I've attached faces to names. It was great to be amongst people who love the same shit I do, right? I mean, that doesn't happen often in your life, especially mine. And I took it. It was so warming. I loved it. I wanted to hug everybody. It was so great to be amongst people who love the same stuff that I do. And my wife can tell. She's like, you're grinning, like you can't stop smiling. And I'm like, I love this. This is like, there's so much love here. It's great. And I finally got to meet McD, finally, a bunch of people and all that kind of stuff. And it was great. We had a great time. And at that point was when I realized where I had to, it wasn't just something we're asking for. It wasn't just a wish, even beyond what people have told me or I've heard. I just didn't quite, comprehended where we were supposed to go with this release of Snyder Cut. Is it happening? Is it real? Does it exist at that point, right? And even though in the bottom of my heart I knew it existed. I mean, everybody, said it exists. Jay Leaves, we know, we kind of know, but it's different when you hear it from Zack. Where you're right in front of the guy and he tells you, of course it exists, right? I mean, he didn't tell me that, but in a way, because I said, well, where we're going to see the sequel, and I told you the story before, but like we had to do the pressure thing. We had to put a little bit more pressure on the studio, and that we probably have to wait until some of those people that were the original team are gone, and at that time Kevin Tsujihara was still there. There's that thing going on, and so at that time AT&T never really bought that out, right? So, but you hear it from him that, okay, this is where we got to go. We have to put a lot more pressure. We got to do a little bit more marketing. We got to do trending events. We got to do something, right? And thankfully, I'm not the only one because I suck at hosting all that stuff. I'm not the one who really put all this packaging together and put all these the billboards and stuff. I have a lot of people to thank for that. Eric Blake was part of the first year. Will Rollins, Nerd Queens, Jeff Purdy. Countless of you all of you are incredible. And, got to thank McD, the TPZ. TPZ stands for Team Pro Zack. It was a group of friends who met up with Zack Snyder, and Zack Snyder kind of just, I guess really latched on with them, and they helped do all the American Foundation Suicide Prevention stuff. Like, that's their thing. It's all about AFSP doing for a good cause. That's what they were all for, right? So, and they wanted to help Zack in that matter. They even went to some of the events, to the AFSP walks and stuff. Awesome stuff. Lots of stuff that some dude in Hawaii, right here in this corner, cannot do, but I happily donated. I happily put my name out front. I happily promoted whatever I can. If me talking behind this crappy little $20 mic in this little corner on a sad, it's not so sad, I know, people. I've been here all my life, so Hawaii really doesn't feel that special to me. But me in the middle of the ocean, if I can help in any way, I surely will. And I hope I did. But anyway, going back, there's all these events, and a lot of them partook in it and arranged it, and awesome stuff. Things. Where is this clicking? So things. Oh, it's not going on. So things like that. What happened here? But the billboard, and Ramesh from Nod, all these different people arranged this stuff. So it worked really well, and it really added that pressure. The pressure was very I think. And then Kevin Tsujihara left, so I think that kind of started something really amazing, because during this is December 4th, but before this, in November, right? Before this in November, I got like a hint, and I think I told you around this November, that there were a few individuals had reached out to me and says, you know what, something's going to go. We need your help to spread the word. We need your help to promote. I don't know if they want me to tell you this, but I have to. I feel like I need to, and I feel like it matters now. Not for the cut. I think this is separate, but just because I feel it's right to say this, is Team Pro Zack, TPZ reached out to me. Okay, reached out to me and said that there's something going on. We need your help, and could you promote this and that? So every day for that November week, I've been telling you, okay, this is Superman. This is the Cyborg Day. This is stuff like that. It's about to go. So I knew ahead of time. All right, about those things, and that's why I said we got to go hard. We got to do this. You may, do this and that. November 17th. This is the one. This is the biggest deal. And then, I heard that's when it happened, right? We trended very well. Not just us, right? We did a good job. Okay, everybody did a good job in helping it trend and stuff like that. I didn't see my family that day. Okay, I was there. I was like there but non-existent. I was here and like that's all I was doing that day. And so we trended, but not without the help of celebrities. Every time we trended to a number, a celebrity would, like Ray Fisher would, boom, okay, that helped up a little bit. Oh, boom, Gal Gadot helped up a little bit. So without their help, I don't think we could have actually reached to the point that we reached. So I'm very thankful that the cast and crew came out in support, because a lot of those articles came around because people were like, what's going on? Gal Gadot tweeted, Ben Affleck tweeted, and especially when Ben Affleck tweeted, I think that destroyed, that killed the numbers. That a big Ben Affleck, like all-star actor, Academy Award winning, this dude, this motherfucker, he blew the internet when he tweeted release the Snyder Cut. So it's a huge help. And so Zack was able to use that, right? Zack was able to use it and say, oh man, that's awesome. And so everybody, it started trending. And then of course, at the end of the day, November 17th, we did well. And if you go back to my videos or anybody else's videos or Twitter, you can see that. It was great. It worked well. It was awesome. And this is where I get into the more tinfoil factor for you. Now I can tell you what I heard, but again, it's still tinfoil because that's all what I've heard. I have no sources. I'm all the way here in the middle of the ocean. I don't have any direct connection line to anybody in Zack's court or Zack or anybody else, right? Okay, so just to be clear, right? I don't want to wear. I could wear the tinfoil hat, but it's hot. It will burn my brain. So when I believe that the release of Snyder Cut was essentially it helped Zack Snyder get the cut. Like it helped in relatively speaking, like it helped him get the cut, the permission to get the cut, right? Essentially, it was that this screen right here. Is it real? Does it exist? Of course it does. It almost like making it like a physical sense, like an image that represents him actually achieving that. Like the studio says, you know what? It does sound like people want this. It does seem like something that we could capitalize on. And so there you go. We are now in negotiation. We are now, and you've heard every story from what it's going to take, and if they said no, and who said yes, and whatever. You've heard all that already, right? You've heard that from everything else, indeed. So that to me was kind of the usefulness of the release of Snyder Cut hashtag. Like that to me was like, that was the idea. That was where it mattered the most, because it had to get to the point where it trended worldwide thanks to the fandom and this cast and the crew. We can't just exclude them. They were a big proponent to us trending that day, but it really marked a big difference. It marked a changing of times. In fact, to the point that a lot of people in the industry kind of just turned their heads. They're like, what? First of all, it's real? And second of all, what? It may happen, So, and then Zack Snyder was pretty confident in this, right? And so days after that was pretty awesome. But we got to the end of the year, and this shows up. Zack Snyder's Justice League, right? Actually promoted by him. Promoted by him. This is not a fan promotion. And I've talked to this about at great lengths in many videos about this. This is official merc. Official merc for Zack Snyder's Justice League. Now, I had a conversation with Alex Lobo. He is an intellectual property paralegal. And so he knows about, laws and legalities and about about IPs like this. And he indeed does say that Zack Snyder would have had to have permission from the owners of these logos in order to do this, whether or not it's for charity or not. He would need permission. There would have to have already something in place to be able to do this. Some kind of agreement for this matter, right? Excuse me. So that is very, that is very much that point on where I was like, okay, well, he's got a brand. He is got a title. It's right there in front of us. Like, this was very, I think even Sean O'Connell was like, wait a minute, did he just throw out official merc? And I think not many people still maybe don't realize this. I think Will Rollins finally kind of realized it this past few days. After he actually went to Ink to the People because he wanted to use that logo, and they told him it's licensed. So that, people are finally catching on. I'm happy for that. Zack Snyder's Justice League, right? That's a big thing. That's a big deal. And then we had our, fan poster event. We had our fan poster event, and it would have this slate come out, which Victor Koo won. He won the fan poster event, so he's going to win this slate. And this slate, it tells you over in the back. Let's see if I can get. It tells you on the back, for the motion picture known as Zack Snyder's Justice League. For the motion picture known as Zack Snyder's Justice League. So it's not, essentially, it's not really like saying, oh, that's Zack Snyder's Justice League. You know, it's a brand, it's a title, Zack Snyder, and it's even on the logo. I mean, it's even right here, Zack Snyder's Justice League. I know people would like to say, no, release the Snyder Cut. It's got to be release the Snyder. I agree, because that is the biggest hashtag. But to not use hashtag Zack Snyder's Justice League, that's the brand. Like, why can't we use that, consecutively in addition to release the Snyder Cut? I don't understand that part. I don't understand the part where you cannot use Zack Snyder's Justice League in with that. Essentially, that's his brand. And I know what some of you may want to tell me. You say, well, Chris, he never hashtagged that. So, because he never specified that hashtag, we shouldn't use it. We should use release the Snyder Cut. Well, if you think back, he never specified release the Snyder Cut. That was us. The fandom did. I mean, movies that mayor actually coined that term, but we used it. Zack Snyder never actually used hashtag release the Snyder Cut until closer towards the November event, because we were using it. So that's kind of a weird argument to tell me that I cannot use hashtag Zack Snyder's Justice League when himself didn't really use hashtag release the Snyder Cut until we did it. I don't know. Think about that for a second. But that's why I want to say that Zack Snyder's Justice League, it is indeed a brand. It's there. It's licensed. It's copyrighted. It's owned by the parties that have permission to use this, which is Zack Snyder. Will Rollins now knows that because he tried to use this for something else and was denied by Ink to the People. So this is important. This is important. I don't know why people are not realizing at this point. But that's fine. You know, you do whatever you want to do. But essentially, I still think you should let people use this hashtag in addition to release the Snyder Cut or not. Really. I mean, it just really doesn't matter. But anyway. Then Zack Snyder, did this thing, which actually I'm kind of jumping around through points here, but we had the whole Batman v Superman. Well, we may have a Man of Steel event, but Batman v Superman watch, and Ohio Davey and Meg arranged this. They're from near TPZ, pretty much, and they arranged this thing. Zack Snyder watched it, even sent them a clip to show at the end where he pretty much announces the Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition watch party, right? So I guess I'll go into this a little bit. Now, I told you before that the TPZ had reached out to me, a few of them, reached out to me to say that, hey, for November, you gotta, can you help us out and do this? I did. Cool. And so I'm like, wow, they really know what's going on, because like all of a sudden these things are dropping. Then they even hinted about like a certain they even hinted about the Zack Snyder's Justice League, right? They hinted about that, and then shortly after, Zack dropped it. They hinted about, what's the slate. They arranged, pretty much helped arrange Zack Snyder's Justice League posters, right? They did that. And Zack Snyder posted, all right, Zack Snyder's Justice League poster, excited about the official Vero account showcasing fan-created poster for Zack Snyder's Justice League, and that's ZSJL fan posters. Well, who collected all those posters on that ZSJL fan posters that I show you almost every single video? That was arranged by TPZ. Okay, well, that's interesting. So there is countless others, and I can't remember right now, but there are other ones where TPZ have hinted and kind of hyped up something that was going to happen, and it did. So where I'm trying to go with it, including the Batman v Superman watch parties, that there's going to be a special thing at the end. There's going to be there's going to be something special for that. it doesn't take much, at least for me, to realize that this team right here, the TPZ, are very much engaged and connected with Zack Snyder. Okay, I mean, I was trying to find the picture where they had coffee, and I know they met over at the coffee place prior to, or even during the time of the Snyder Con. Too bad it wasn't there, but it's great. I think this is fantastic to see this picture. And what I'll tell you what it means to me. This group of individuals, including the Nerd Queens now, is part of it because the Nerd Queens has been part of the whole Comic-Con thing. They've always been a part of that. Prior to anybody else coming on, they're on site. They're at the site. They're putting out flyers, things like that. They've been involved with it. So they've been a very pivotal group within the Snyder Cut movement, right? So they've arranged all that. So it's awesome to see these individuals kind of having a nice little beer with Zack Snyder right here, right? It's so cool to see them have a Zoom meeting. It's like friends just getting together to talk about stuff. And like I said, from my point of view right here, every time they get together, something exciting happens out of it. Something incredible for the rest of us to see, like, holy, I can't wait to see what's next, right? Like maybe are they tinfoil? Are they planning something? Are we going to have another event? Are we going to have, is Zack going to post something? It's very exciting for me here, this is my point of view. It's very exciting for me to see this because I'm like, all right, this is probably a start of something else. And, more about Zack Snyder's Justice League. And, I can't wait. I'm excited. I'm enthusiastically excited, especially for the new events that are coming down because, we're going to do the Mother's Day one, which Will Rollins put out because he was inspired by the dumbbells that Vera post and his mother's box day. So his Mother's Day, it sounded great. I'm going to support it. I'm going to promote that because it sounds. It's like something fun. It sounds like something fun. And I hope we are doing this for fun. I mean, not just for fun, but with that fun in mind. I mean, we don't want to, if we're doing it for like, we're just begrudgingly doing it, then what's the fun in that, right? I'm hoping we are having fun at the same time for a good cause. So I don't know. But Mother Box Day, Zack Snyder's Justice League, that's coming up. I'm really excited to do this one as well. I have a few posts lined up, of course, with my limited time of day. I have my own, wife to celebrate. She's a mother. I have my own mother to celebrate because she's a mother. So, but I'll try my best to participate in this. But this one is cool. This one, TPZ had put this out. And like I said from before, just from my point of view, any kind of TPZ run or TPZ starting event, like they started, like they announced it, they put it out, they pushed it out, is exciting. Okay, 214, we had something going on. Alessandro had put something going on. That was successful, but at the same time, like, HBO Max announced that they were going to launch on May 27th. That was their announcement date. And then the TPZ kind of said, okay, we got to really push this one hard. Trust me, we've got to push this hard. And we did. We pushed it hard. And I've just heard from people that Warner Media heard that HBO Max PR actually liked certain articles for that. So I was like, okay, all right. So that's even more, right? Even more if you were in my shoes, and you being like, if you were in my shoes and you hear, okay, TPZ is telling me, all right, let's promote this, and then something great happens out of that right after. It's not science, but it's like it's connecting. You add it up and you're like, well, I should listen to them, right? I mean, I should promote their things because things seem to come good out of it. See, at least in my point of view. And so, yes, I do trust TBZ. I do trust Nerd Queens. And I will continue to do that because they've gotten us that far with Release the Snyder Cut after Fiona left, that they've gotten us that far with the whole thing to the point that we're at a second stage now. We're kind of at the stage of Zack Snyder's Justice League. So it was Release the Snyder Cut, boom, permission to get the cut, negotiation, whatever how you want to say it, and however you want to hear it. That's what I believe that's happening. Then, boom, okay, agreement. There is a brand. There's this thing called Zack Snyder's Justice League. Now we're kind of in the waiting game because of the whole coronavirus thing, and hopefully, and it will eventually be released, but with delays and whatever. And Zack says he has to finish it. Zack says he has additional photography, so it really, that's where it's at right now. And that's, but to conclude, I'm excited. May 27th is going to be interesting. It's going to be great. And like every other TPZ driven event, it turns out great. It turns out awesome. And notice that they are using hashtag Zack Snyder's Justice League as well, because that is important. But you can also use in conjunction with Release the Snyder Cut, because I agree that is the bigger hashtag. That's something we know more. But I would, I myself will use both. Unless on a certain day, like the Mother's Day event, where it's a Mother Box Day or Mother's Day. Because you can really only use two hashtags per tweet to even actually work out because of Twitter rules. But that's what I'm going to do. So for this day, Release the Snyder Cut, Zack Snyder's Justice League, cool. I'm not going to go into things like things you see on Twitter. I think I've decided not to. I know there are many sites, and I know there are different group names and stuff like that. I lost count of already, and frankly, I don't really care too much. I don't. I mean, like I said, I'm here in the middle of the ocean. I did fine by just being obsessed with Release the Snyder Cut and Zack Snyder's Justice League from the beginning by myself. And I'm going to be fine doing it after. I will go on people as guests speaking for, I may go as guest speaking for channels or not, depending on how much time. I've had to turn down some different interviews and things like that, because of the time difference and where I get to actually do these videos, right? The time I get to do these videos, a lot of those people, they're sleeping. So, but I just want to say that I'm going to keep promoting Zack Snyder's Justice League. If there is an event that I see that could is cool, that's interesting to me, then I'm going to help you promote it. Okay? And I'm going to promote it on this channel. I'm going to promote it at the end. So, I think the Mother's Day is a fantastic idea. Today's May 4th be with you. That was a great idea as well, as many people in the industry, whether you're in Star Wars or not, tend to use that. But, we used it with Zack Snyder and Star Wars. Even Zack Snyder put out something. So it was a fun event, and that I want to really phrase, you have to be having fun doing this. I hope you are. I am. I'm having fun doing this. I'm not. This is not like work to me. I enjoy tweeting out, retweeting. I enjoy interacting with you guys for the most part, and I enjoy being hyped. Just being hyped for Zack Snyder's Justice League. And I will do anything I can within the confines of this corner in the middle of the ocean to continue to support Zack Snyder's Justice League. But I hope that I can actually do it what I feel doesn't have to be kind of, you know, what do you call it? I hope that you don't have to, and I don't have to say, well, we can't do it that way, we can't do it this way. I think anybody can freely start tweeting something as much as they want. I think at this point we're just kind of marketing a demand for Zack Snyder's Justice League. And I think there is a lot of things in play beyond the fandom that are already in motion with that, and I feel that is definitely coming. And so I'm obsessed with it. I'm going to continue to market it, and I'm going to continue using hashtag Zack Snyder's Justice League because I believe that's where it's at. I believe that's where it's at. And I believe I will, and of course I will do in conjunction with Releases Snyder Cut at certain points in time where it's, I can use two hashtags depending on event per event. And hopefully we don't have to do that too long. Hopefully we don't have to do that too long. I'm crossing my fingers that after this whole coronavirus shenanigans, Zack can get back to work, shoot those additional scenes, and we'll have an official announcement from HBO Max, which I also have heard that that's why we're kind of just more focused on the HBO Max part of it. We're more focused on the Warner Media aspect of it, because that's where it's at. That's where I'm hearing where it's at. That's where, some people have told me that's where it's at. So that's where I'm going to focus in on that. You feel free to do whatever you seem fit on that, but that's where I'm going to be headed, and that's where I feel I want to be headed, and that's where I feel I want to go. Well, thank you so much for subscribing. Thanks so much for watching, and please support Zack Snyder's Justice League events on May 10th and May 27th. All right, guys, thank you so much.